Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic Reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rotten about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It's only one I choose to devote my life to. That's okay.
It means something. It means something.
And they got away.
You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic Reversal!
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It's a science place. It is a scientific fact that we are all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. Episode 387. That's right, the penultimate show before the 10-year anniversary, which is going to be later this week at the normal time slot. I'm very excited to get this fella in, who we'll be talking to shortly. Doni Blair, you probably know him from the Toadies. I am an old school Hagfish fan. If you heard my show with his brother, Zach Blair, who also does the Anti-Heroes podcast. Very excited to have this fella on. Interesting dude. Without getting too much into it, he's got some martial arts background, so don't mess with him. But yeah, we're going to get into all that. I'm really excited to talk to Doni Blair. And before we do any of that, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I am your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer that has been touring and recording for 24 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but who may not be household names. This is episode 387. That was your first time listening to the show. Archives of it are available for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding, at ProtonicReversal.com. However, if you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, $1 a month at Patreon.com/ProtonicReversal will achieve that goal. If you like the show or even just a single episode, please feel free to like, subscribe on your platform of choice, share it around on the internet, and even leave a review. All that helps people discover the show. It beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords. And it's a darn nice thing to do. So yeah, Doni Blair. I'm getting my Blair punch card filled in. One more end. I don't know what I get when that card's punched. But very excited. I know Toadies have been doing some recording. That's coming up. And again, can't overemphasize enough how big of a Hagfish fan I was and still am. Doni Blair, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, how you doing, man? Thank you again for having me.
Yeah, pleasure to do so. Really psyched that we got to work this out. The fact that I got both the Blair Bros is kind of impressive. Especially if younger me was able to know, first of all, what a podcast was. Secondly, that I would have one. And thirdly, that I would have both you guys on.
Awesome. It's a double duo of Blair. No one needs that. No one needs that at all. Trust me.
I say everybody needs it personally.
Ask our wives. They'll go, no one needs that. They will disagree with you.
Opinions vary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am a fan of both you guys, all you guys' music, but I'm a big Hagfish fan. I listened to those records when they came out and spent a lot of time with them.
We're proud of them.
And yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're really proud of that band. We're proud of those records. It was kind of our college, you know. It's how we learned to go tour. It's how we learned how to play. We got to meet our heroes, you know what I mean? We got to go record with Bill Stevenson and Stephen Edgerton, and
Right.
learned from them, and toured our asses
Yeah.
off. And so it was.
Those guys are pretty good.
And they're okay. They taught us everything, and to go back.
They're
and
getting
listen to
good.
that
They're getting good.
stuff,
Those guys.
Yeah. To listen to that stuff is just like, wow, it's so weird to hear us back then, and just we didn't know a lot, but I remember we had so much fun doing it, and to meet people years down the line who liked who liked us and liked the records, it makes a lot of the hardship and the shit we went through worth it. Like, oh, we did reach some people, so it's cool to hear that. So I'm really stoked you liked it.
Yeah, and you guys were a working band. You were a
Yeah.
band that did a lot of touring, and not at a level where you guys were known. It was more just like, we're gonna go to these places and do this thing. We're gonna fly our trade. Is sort of how it appeared to.
Yeah, we just kind of, I mean, we got lucky by having a great agent, and we had really good managers, and they just kind of put us out there, and they knew they were kind of like, just send these four anywhere and they'll go. We toured with everybody. We toured with, Reverend Horton Heat, Bad Brains, Tripping Daisy, Everclear, No Effects, and Face to Face. It didn't matter who we went with. We would just tour with everybody and try to make people the crowd fans. That was our goal, But we didn't go out to, hey, come on in and like us, I mean, my brother was not
Right.
going to let himself go, hey, I'm here for you. It's bullshit. Like, you people are here for me. So whenever they gave us shit, Zach let them know where they were. Like, no. There's a hierarchy here, and we're at the top. You're gonna watch us do what we do, and that's
Right.
how it's gonna be. It was
As a bit of
gonna
a
do it
flex,
anyway,
almost. Right? Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and
every night.
one might say
And he was right.
youthful bravado, right? But
No, not necessarily through bravado. It was, we were confident in what we were doing, and we had seen enough bands who were kind of like, coming out and like, hey, it's Cleveland, it's great to be here, or Detroit, we love you, or
right.
we'd seen enough of that schlocky shit, So it's
Yeah.
like, no, we're Hagfish from Texas, and we're gonna play, and our
Bands
thing
acting like
is,
they're the
no
Rolling
idea.
Stones or something when they can barely, draw a Tuesday night
Yeah.
blues bar crowd.
Yeah. It's like, if you come out and expect it, okay, it's 50-50. And that's what I love about our band. People either loved us or they hated us. There's no in between. I've never heard, Hagfish, you guys are okay. It was, I hated you guys, or I loved you. I'm fine with that. There's a visceral reaction. People are passionate about hating us or
Right.
loving us. There's no middle ground. I mean, it's like, that's where you want to be. You don't want to be like, hey, you guys are okay. Fuck
That's
that.
way better than having an indifferent reaction. Like, oh, that was fine. Like, oh. Ooh.
Good enough. Exactly. Like, exactly. Like, no, people hated us. They loved us. And I could not be happier with that. We left a mark if you hated us,
I only ever saw you guys play one time. It was with Everclear. I think it was at the Fillmore in San Francisco. And
Oh, nice. Yeah.
which is great. And I
Yeah.
I was maybe one of the only people there to see you guys.
Nice.
To which I forget your singer's name. I
George
talked to him.
Ricken.
He was baffled by that. He was like, "What, really?" I was like, "Yeah, I've been listening to you guys for years." He's like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Well,
And I got the
that's
impression that on that tour that like that was it's not that you guys were like super obscure, but like it was the Everclear crowd. They were a popular band. They had a big
it
hit,
was.
Yeah.
They were great too. We had the same agent as them, and we went out right when Sparkle and Fade came out. We did 3 weeks with them.
Yeah.
So whenever Santa Monica got huge, they had booked a huge tour of America and Canada 3 and 5,000 seaters, and immediately Art contacted us and was like, I want you guys to go out with us.
Nice.
And that was the sweetest. It was so nice. We got treated fantastic. We had sound checks, we had our catering, we got treated incredible. And he was like, some of the crowds might hate you, but this is your job to make them love you. And it worked every fucking night. We would show up, they would know who we were. When we were done, it was applause and people loved us. And we owed those guys for that, we really did. And it was a good thing that Art did.
There's something that I think as a younger man I didn't appreciate so much, of being able to just play for an audience if they're remotely open-minded. Say only 10% of them are open-minded.
Yeah.
Well, that's still 10% that like now they know who the hell you are. And like that can mean a number of things, but it's entirely possible you made some new fans doing that and you grew the thing, right?
We did. And we learned how to turn a crowd that may not like us into liking us. And that tour, we became masters at it, of turning a crowd that's like, and that's the thing, is if you go out with a crowd like that, you can't turn them to you, then you need to go be an accountant. They were
it's over, Johnny. Yeah.
Literally, they were ready for it. And if you've got some kid twirling his sticks and another, potato head with the sideburns and all this shit, and then you got this other kid, doing Pete Townsend moves and throwing his glitter guitar in the air and doing all this shit. If you can't win a crowd doing that,
what are you even doing? Yeah.
you're not doing it right. I know that, but we were.
Well, and it struck me that, and I went into it when I had your brother on, but I feel like all of the Hagfish records, I feel like the Buick Men, and especially, it was just like, any one of those songs could have been a single back then, which is weird to think about now, right?
No,
but
thank you. I appreciate it.
They all have an immediate appeal. It's coming from the sensibility, very much down the line of like Buzzcocks, Descendants, like that grand tradition, right? And it just was. The first time I heard that CD, I thought you guys were a bigger band than you were, frankly. Like because I didn't know, because it was the 90s. There was no frame of reference. You had to go. We had to drive up to the Bay Area to buy a zine to find out what the hell was going on. It wasn't you could just like, log onto the internet and like see what's doing on Instagram. Like it's a different world. So I was under the impression you guys were this huge band, and then like it gradually dawned on me when I would talk about you guys, but nobody knows who they are out here. I was like, oh, maybe this is like a regional thing. I was like, oh no, they're not as big as I thought they were.
No.
I think it took me seeing you at the Everclear show, where I was like, am I the only one here to see this band? Like, I'm sure that's not the case, but like it was that's what it felt like.
And then that was great, is that we had that core. We had you. We had other people like you. But after we left that show, we went back because we started doing great on the radio in San Francisco because of that tour. So it's like it worked, and all it was us playing and
doing your show, doing your thing, being who you are. Yeah,
exactly. And it was the songs. I think it's George's delivery. George always it's like Milo. He has this everyman thing for people. He has this sentimentality and a passion, kind of like a vulnerability. Mm-hmm. But you see him up on stage and he looks like a badass, but he's got this vulnerability about him. Right. And listening to the songs, if you know what they're about, and not everyone does, and so we do, but not everyone should. You should make up, whatever the song's about to you is what it's about to you. I don't want to tell you what was in George's head. That could fucking ruin it. Then again, some of them like Stamp Herself.
Some of them are pretty. I know what that's about. Which there's a certain school of thought for that too. Hey, why not?
We were there, so we know what happened. We saw it, but
and there is something to a certain heart on sleeve sensibility too. That in essence, it's very hard for it not to be timeless. It's very hard for it not to be something that's going to strike a chord with younger people. Mm-hmm. As they discover it again, and one of the nice things about the constant availability, everything is when they engage with it, it's in real time as if it was happening right now. Like these songs that you wrote in like 1990 or something. It's like it's happening as if it's in real time.
Oh yeah.
And that's wonderful. That's like the good side of the internet, right?
Yeah.
You know, like that's
It is. Yeah. It's a plus, especially people in our industry,
Right.
and I look at the positivity of that, of someone, I mean, we're all, I mean, the Toadies are seeing it now from
Yeah.
that, we're seeing way newer fans. We're seeing older fans bring in their kids, and those kids, it's not that they're just into their parents' band. They're fucking into it. They're asking me, like, are you guys going to play Hell Below Stairs Above?
Right.
What?
Yeah.
You
Like,
know,
how do you know that song? Where? Yeah.
literally, like,
Is there a video even for that?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, okay, so yeah, it's where the internet does have it's got more pluses than negatives.
And it's interesting, and we're not done talking about Hagfish yet. We'll come back to it. But I first time I saw the Toadies was with the Butthole Surfers.
There's some
And
good stories.
I knew the Butthole Surfers already, and had been a big fan. I would have called them least likely band to ever have like a top 40 hit, basically at the
God.
time.
I know.
And as much as I love the record before that one, which is basically one long guitar solo, and I mean that as a compliment. Like it's amazing. I love Independent Worm solo. Like I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, this is good. Yeah, it's a good record. It's interesting. It's cool. There's and then it was like, oh, that song is like big now. And it was at the same time that Possum Kingdom came out. And so those bands have been on tour together. I didn't understand that there was like a Texas relationship to them because I didn't know anything about the Toadies at the time. All I knew is I worked at a record store, and the big song on that record was just like you couldn't avoid it, right? It was everywhere. And it was cool. I didn't have any frame of reference to like any part of it. Like in the same way, I just had Danbert from Chumbawamba on, and
Nice.
and great dude, by the way. And just put out this incredible record. That's like a double record. It's insane. It's super good. But like Chumbawamba was around for 1982. When that I got knocked down, I get up again song happened. They've been a band for like 15 years, and I didn't know any of that. And then when I found out, the first thought I had with those guys was like, oh, is there another band called Chumbawamba? Because I'm thinking of the radio band. And this one has a split like Noam Chomsky. Like, what is that? Like, what's that all about? And again, you didn't have this instant information available to you at all time. You had liner notes in the record where bands thanked other bands and things like that.
Yeah. Steve Albini's a big Chumbawamba fan. I just found that out. He really loves they gave back to co-ops. They did a lot of, would take that money and subsidize a lot of he was telling us about other nonprofits and things that they believed in and causes. And he was like, they're doing it right,
And that's a better way. And we talked about some of that. It's a better way to do it, I think, than like if you just refuse the money, right? It's like, okay, that's like you're first of all, nobody understands that now. Like that was a big the selling out thing in the 90s. That was like a thing that, by the way, talk about like a piece of history. Nobody today even understands. Like, what? Why wouldn't you want to be in an Apple commercial? Are you kidding me? Like that's how people find out who you are. And the whole like Adbusters, like whatever, that it's just dead. Like that argument is just dead. But by the same token, the idea of like, oh yeah, we'll take this money and then we'll immediately give it to like this NGO so they can like thrive and survive for like 10 years on this thing that like whatever, a car commercial or whatever it was. I think it was a car commercial. They're gonna put some nonsense in there anyway. Fine, let them use it. Who cares?
Yeah, and they can support their causes and their beliefs. It's like that's what I never understood.
Walk the walk, keep it sustainable, keep it community oriented. Great. That's awesome.
If you make it big by doing what you do and you're not changing, then how have you sold out?
Yeah.
I think it's stupid. It's the dumbest thing. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life is when people say, "Oh, you sold out." Why? Because we made the record we wanted, and just everyone else clued into it. No, we didn't.
My favorite. I think it's in one of these. It's not some kind of monster, but the other Metallica doc, where Jason Newsted goes, "Yeah, we sold out every seat in the house," and which amazing, great. I have no notes. Wonderful. Just like in the same way, you see him backstage, and he's like, they're clowning on him because he's taking like the deli trays and like he's just like loading up all the food, like taking it with him, and he's like, they can laugh all they want. I'm eating for free. And I'm like, okay, that made me like him more because that's the punk rock move. Like, oh, this is Like, we've been
Exactly.
a show
Like,
where
wait.
they give us unlimited free pizza. Once I'm like, do you need more? Yes, we do. Please keep it coming.
I'm the worst, man. If there's free food somewhere,
Great,
doesn't
let's
matter
go.
where they are. My band, no, like, well, he's gonna go for the free food. Like,
Right.
yeah, of course.
I mean,
It's
and
free
maybe that's
food.
coming from like growing up like working poor or whatever, or
It
just like
is. Yes.
always being broke while touring. I'm like, I'm sorry, the food is free.
Yeah.
How much? How much of it can I have?
I don't care. I can afford to pay for food, but if you're gonna have
Doesn't
give us
matter.
free food, I
Yeah,
don't care.
great. That's
I'll go pay for that. I'm gonna eat that. Yeah, it comes from we have enough money. Do we put it in the tank to get to the
Yeah.
next gig, or do we buy hot dogs?
right.
Fuck, we gotta get to the next gig.
We got to get
So-
there. So
Yeah. So then someone's gonna order like a hot dog buffet. Even tomorrow, I mean, we're playing Thursday. I'll
Right.
fucking tell you. I mean, if the people in San Antonio are like, hey, there's a hot dog buffet,
yeah,
for all the bands, like, all right, it's gonna be my day.
it's
I'm
gonna
gonna destroy a fucking hot dog buffet.
We're going to
free.
town on hot dogs tonight, is what we're doing. Yeah.
I'm not that far removed. I'm gonna turn down a fucking hot dog or free food. Period. It's food.
Well, and you think about how much you have to sacrifice with touring, how much comfort, how much.
Yeah.
If it's like, hell yeah, I'm gonna take it. You kidding me? I mean, unless it's garbage. Even then, maybe even then, depending on how hungry I am.
I've taken garbage. I don't.
It's a point
I
of
mean,
pride.
we've got a nice bus. We make good money. We have our catering and all that, but still, it's free food. I'm gonna
It's still
take it.
free food. Thank you, Donnie. Thank you, because that's what it comes down. Is the food free? Yes, I will take it. Thank you. Friend of
If
mine.
you're from
is
North,
oh, good.
I was just gonna say, we come from North Texas. We don't turn down free food.
Yeah.
Man. Come on.
A friend of mine who's a bit of a tightwad said, "If it's free, it's for me." That was a phrase that he said, which I was like, I can get behind that for sure, man.
Pretty much, man. Pretty
So I'm
much.
telling that long extended story about Chumbawamba from the last episode, specifically because I had no frame of reference for the Toadies except for the hit song. So therefore, it was interesting watching this co-headlining show at the Greek Theater in Berkeley, where the crowds in the Bay Area, at least, for Butthole Surfers versus Toadies, it was like Butthole Surfers finished, their crowd left, and then the Toadies crowd came in. And it was like, oh, there's no overlap. There's no interest in what the other band is doing here at all. And I didn't have any frame of reference to know that, oh, no, these are both like old school Texas bands. Like I had on Gary Floyd from the Dicks some time back. And like, like him talking about the old days, like then the big boys and stuff like that. And like how there's a certain, and even like a little later, like Brett Bradford from Scratch Acid and things along those lines.
Yeah.
There's a certain Texas camaraderie that I feel like there's a lot of bands that even if they don't sound like each other, there's like major common cause between them.
There is. Yeah, we kind of all recognize each other, even if it's not, if we're not the same. It's like, oh, we're still from Texas, so we all understand. Like, oh, wow, okay. Well, and then instead of just being from another part of the country, like, oh shit, you're from Texas, so
Yeah.
What goes on with that. It's a certain kind of upbringing. It's a certain kind of mentality and thinking, and
A lot of space between cities, usually.
Jesus, dude.
Not as
I'll
much as
say-
California, but definitely a lot of space.
No. I'll tell you this. Okay, so Hagfish always used to start tours in California and LA. It's a day trip from Dallas. So 24 hours, perfect, Dallas to LA. The
blast through
halfway
the desert.
point- it's halfway point is El Paso.
Yeah.
So and we're still in our own state.
You're still in Texas.
Yep.
True heads will know. Yeah. That's why El
Halfway
Paso
there.
gets so many shows, because it's like, well, we're
Yeah.
here.
I believe it's 26 to 27 hours from I live up in the panhandle of Texas in Amarillo. So from the corner of that is Tex Line. It's a town called Tex Line. From that down to Brownsville, I believe, is a 30-hour trip. 30 hours. Yeah. Welcome to Texas.
You have to want it. That's like I always used to goof on East Coast bands where talking about touring's hard. Like, I'm sorry, touring is hard. Like, all these major cities are 2 hours away from each other. You gonna cry about some traffic? Get out of here.
we freaked out our first time on the East Coast. We met some kids that I think we were playing Philadelphia, and they were like, "Dude, we came down from New York to see you guys." And I went, "Oh my God, how long did that take you?" They were like, "Bro, we took the train. It was an hour and a half." Our minds were blown. Like, what? You took the train, and it was an hour and a half.
Right.
What? Or we found out, like, yeah, we'll be in New York tomorrow. It's only like a 3 hour drive. We were like, huh?
Yeah, that doesn't even compute.
Jeez.
What?
Being from Texas? No. And,
Yeah.
and same as with Europe. I think one day we left Sweden. We went through Germany, France. I think we went through like 5 different countries
Mhm.
in one day. And it was like only 4.5 hours. And it blew our fucking mind.
Which is
Like,
crazy. And again, so I came up from the Bay Area, right? And it's 10 hours to Portland. It's like 6 to LA. And it's like, yeah, there's stuff in between. But as far as like major, we would do like a long weekend would be Portland, Seattle, Bellingham, and back. Like, and that back is, oh yeah, that's most of the West Coast, by the way. So then I feel like you get a handle for, oh, we can do these longer drives and like, because we know what's that like when you get to like the Midwest where everything's closer, right? The East Coast where it's like, oh, there's like a city within like every like 4 hours. It's crazy. Like this, you can play all these awesome
this
places.
is great.
Yeah,
It's
like,
great touring there. Like, we only have
and
a 3 hour
people are
drive.
interested in music. Who knew? You know?
Exactly. We didn't be doing it in a van. That's how Hagfish got our start. Weekends, going all over Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana, and Arkansas, Kansas.
That, what's the corridor? What's the freeway that's the Oklahoma, Missouri, whatever.
Oh, Tornado Alley.
Yeah. So yeah, just doing and doing your thing, right? And doing your thing in front of crowds, and
building it up crowd by crowd by crowd,
waging the campaign.
Yeah, and it's still kind of the best way to do it, I think.
So did
really
Hagfish play with Toadies back in the day?
Oh yeah, we were all friends. Actually, there was one show we played at Clearview where the incident that the song Stamp was based on, same place. We opened for the Toadies, and the only people in the audience were, when we played, the Toadies watched us, and when they played, we watched them. Those were the only people in the audience. But they had opened up for Rollins' band about a year beforehand, and we
that
didn't
was
have
back.
George in the band yet. This was the End of Silence tour. They played Trees, and we were pissed.
That's
We're like, these guys shouldn't open for Rollins. We should. We like Black Flag. I bet you did. This is dumb. I told them this, how stupid it was,
Yeah.
And
it's that weird territorial thing that only happens with young men too, of just like, oh my God, who cares?
and cut to 4 months later, the Toadies are our favorite band. But this is when they had the Velvet tape out.
Right.
This is before Pleather, before Rubberneck, and we just followed them. We would always play shows with them. We made like George Reagan used to make T-shirts for a living. He had his own T-shirt shop, and he made all of our shirts. They contacted him to make some shirts for them, and we made 4 for ourselves. So we were sporting those,
Right.
and showed them, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool." I mean, Lisa and I were friends. Boombarger. She had her Rickenbackers. I bugged her all the fucking time about, sell me one of those, Lisa. She's like, no, shut up and quit bugging me about it. Like, all right. I'm not going to, but okay,
Yeah, I mean, you're a Rick guy as well. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, got Motorhead, Sweet, Rush, like Yes.
Oh, yeah,
like there's
dude,
so many great Rick players that
Inge from if anybody's an International Noise Conspiracy fan, God, Inge Johansson. Oh my God, he's insane with them. Machine Head, the Deep Purple record, that whole thing's the Rickenbacker.
Yeah,
I'll go off on it. Let's just cut it now.
We're not gonna. We're not being sponsored by Rickenbacker. There's no sponsors on this show, but yeah, there's a grand tradition of I mean, any one of them. I mean, like just Cliff Burton or just Geddy Lee or just
like fuck Tommy Stinson, the guy from DeCroixson, also
Yeah.
all of these great bands.
Keith Brammer, friend of mine. Yeah.
God.
That's it.
Oh no shit, you know him.
I do know him. I have a lot of
I'm a
great Keith
fan.
Brammer stories. Not the least of which
I'm a
is that he was super kind to my old band when like had no reason to, and he saw us play in Chicago, and I didn't know him. He knew a bunch of friends of mine, and I was like, and like, he talked to him. I was like, oh, it's really cool. He had a lot of really informed kind of. Coming from a very informed, enthused place about music, kind of what he got out of it. It's like, oh, it's cool. It's like kind of Alice Cooper, but kind of birthday party. I'm like, oh, that's very astute. Oh, very, very. And then he was like, oh yeah, I live in Milwaukee. I can't make your show tomorrow. We were playing Milwaukee the next night. It's before I lived here. And he's like, but I'm gonna send my wife out to see you guys. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, dude. Okay, yeah. Because I didn't know who he was at the time. And then afterwards, someone's like, how do you know Keith Brammer from Detroit? I'm like, oh, is that who that was? Like because I didn't know what those dudes looked like. And I was like, oh shit. And then like I was telling this story later, and I was like, that's cool. That guy was awesome. And then sure enough, we're playing at the Cactus Club next night, and this lady walks up, the bob haircut. Like, hey, my name is Janet Brammer. My husband came to send me out to come see you guys. He said I'm gonna love you. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Like, and I was like, the Midwest rules.
That's awesome.
And then he later has become a friend. I haven't talked to him in forever, but he's pretty much out of playing music. But yeah, one of the best bass players. I mean, let's not get it twisted.
The Detroit was such a great band, and they influenced Voivod. Voivod took the majority of what they do from Detroit, But whole other thing. Sorry.
And Danny, Dan Kavinsky, also, who's been on this show, he has a band called The Crosses that plays, I don't know if you're familiar or not, that they play the first EP and the first Detroitson album, and a bunch of new songs that are like in that same style, and it's freaking awesome. It's super good.
Awesome.
So, because of course, Detroitson means the cross, so it's like The Crosses. It's like, oh, that's.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's and I think they're recording some stuff, so that should be pretty good. But anyway, Detroitson. Toadies. Yeah. So you knew them from way back when.
Yes.
Let's fast forward a little bit. How does it come to so Hagfish? I know the story of was a stamp that was premiering on MTV where like they just were like, more bald guys in suits, huh? Great.
Yep. That was it.
Here it is.
That was it.
It's like, thanks.
And it was come
on.
It was very deflating, incredibly deflating, man. But what are you gonna do? They butchered that video. They edited it so much, and that was the only time it premiered. And then we did another one for Happiness. And we just we let a lot of label shit. And I mean, we were together whenever Tony got in the band in '93 until we pretty much went on our hiatus in '98.
Yeah.
We had done, I believe, probably 25 American tours. We had made 3 albums, been to Europe 5 times. We had done all of this in just the space of 5 years.
It's hitting hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd gotten married. George had had kids. We'd done everything in 5 freaking years. That's a lot. And we did it all in a van. And what we should have done is just had enough sense to take a break.
Yeah, just put a pause on it. Like, hold off for a while.
Put a pause.
Sure.
Yeah. If we had done that, we probably would have lasted a lot longer. But I think we didn't think that it was all or nothing.
Because it's your life, right? You dedicated you've sworn your sword towards this thing, and you're going to continue to do it until you can't. Yeah.
That's all we knew, and then we couldn't. And instead of just, George needed a break for his kids as well. He needed to be a dad, and so he was just wanting to put the pause button because we were still looking at another year of touring because the tours were there. I mean, we went through the major label thing, made a record. It got, they canceled it. We made the entire thing and they just dropped us. They didn't want to put it out.
Yeah,
but thankfully,
that's so rough. That's the you're talking about Rock Your Lame Ass now, the London one.
No, after that,
the one after that, I think it's a self-titled, right? Yeah.
No. It's one between those we made, And
That's right. I did the same thing with your brother, and I didn't learn from it. Jesus, sorry.
no, it's okay. Not a lot of people know about it. We made it with Bo Hill. He did Rat, Warren Winger, and he actually showed
That's
us
right.
live.
That I remembered.
Yeah, Bo showed us a lot, but the record just didn't turn out. You know, like I mean, and in hindsight, we probably just should have released it, toured it, and then moved. But the label didn't like it. They dropped us, and thank God, Mike Burkett, Fat Mike, came
Yeah.
to our rescue. It was like, I'll give you guys what you want. And so we said, and we had been going through 2 years of demo hell, sending our label
Right.
demos. And we were like, all right, Mike, we've got demos for all these songs. Do you want to hear them? And he goes, no, why? Just go make a great Hagfish record. We're like,
just
"What?"
do it, dude. Well, and how
Yeah.
nice it is to have that vote of confidence, though. To have
It
someone that
blew
like
our
knows what you
minds.
do and knows that like, look, whatever they do is gonna be cool. Like it's
That's
you know,
It's fucking Mike,
Yeah.
and Mike is like, no, I love your band. I signed you to make a great record. I don't need to hear demos. Go do what you do.
right.
Go with whoever you want. We went Bill and Stefan,
Yeah.
and he loved the record. He's like, all right, thanks. We'll put it out. And we needed that at that point in time. We really needed someone to go, here's money. I love what you do. I love you guys. And that was our first, kind of thing with Mike. We ended up working with him a lot longer, and other stuff. But just what a great fucking dude. What a great guy.
Yeah.
Just he literally put his money where his mouth is.
And that was and at the time, because it was Honest Don's, right? If I remember correctly, it was the subsidiary, and I can't remember. Nerf Herder had already hit with that Van Halen song at that point, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, they had.
Yeah,
They had them. They had Chicks Dig It, which is what we were
Chicks
stoked
Dig
about.
It. Sure, yeah.
And
Great
Riverdales.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So
the
it was
Riverdales,
cool.
sure.
And Teen Idols.
Just in
also.
case you thought Screeching Weasel didn't sound enough like the Ramones, here are the Riverdales. But
I'm one of those. I know there's all their descendants, and there's also people who like Screeching Weasel versus Riverdales. I'm a Riverdales guy. Fucking love the Riverdales.
those are good records. Those I have not listened to them in a very long time, but they are good records.
I'm a big fan. Yeah, I love them.
So you got so Mike basically saves the record, right?
Yeah,
and
he really did. Yeah,
and you get and that was so the last record that was Blasting Room, right? The self-titled one.
Yeah.
Which of course is Bill and Stefan, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna be like allowed to look at your own devices, go to the source of the well, I mean.
Well, and that's what we should have done in the beginning. We kind of farted around with these other producers, and we went through a producer hunt. We should have just, after we toured, taken 4 or 5 months and gone right back to them. But our label wanted to hear something different and all this other shit. And then when they did, they didn't like it. And everybody goes through this stuff. I mean, the Toadies went through it as well. They made Hell Below Stars Above, but in between it, they made an album called Feeler with Paul Leary from the Buttle Surfers.
That's right, the Paul Leary, yeah.
And when I got in the band, they had made No Deliverance, and we toured that. But then they wanted to go make Feeler, so they were like, "We've got to do this." So the three of them went and made Feeler. They were like, we have to do this ourselves. So they did
follow
that.
follow your muse, follow your compass.
To get it out there, and it's a great idea. And so then we went towards that, and they got that. They kind of were able to shake that out of their system. Like, all right, Feeler's done, we're good to go. And it's a great record, but it's as good as it is. Hell Below is still an amazing fucking record.
Sure,
I think so.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and that's especially. It was almost set up to lose to a certain degree, just because it isn't Rubberneck, like just by extension of it it committed the cardinal sin of not being the one that had the song that everybody knows.
Yeah, and there was so much time in between it, and then Lisa quit.
It was like
and
what 5 years, right? It was like a long time between there. Yeah,
it took them a long time to get, because they were on tour for probably 2 or 3 years straight, and then they were, in between that, they made Feeler. The label rejected it, then put him back in the studio with Tom and Rob, who made Rubberneck. So they were like, this is not going to work. We don't like this record, but we'll give you another shot. You can go make another record, but with the same team that you made Rubberneck with.
That's crazy. That's some
Yeah.
that's some 60s stuff, if you ask me. You know, it's like
Well,
Wow.
yeah, but I mean, they did have that good opportunity. I mean, like, unlike us,
yeah.
we were just told, go fuck yourselves. Bye, you know?
That should have been the name of the last record.
No shit, go fuck yourselves. Bye. But they got the opportunity, like, all right, we don't like this.
Yeah.
Here's another budget to go make.
Here's another bite at
record
the
to
apple.
see.
Yeah.
Here's another try, you know. And
Which is that we don't like the end product, but we still have a belief in you as
Exactly.
artists and as a team and as that, like, this isn't what we wanted. It's not that it's bad. It's just not what we wanted.
Yeah, it wasn't what they wanted. And I believe, from what the guys have said, Paul was just getting into Pro Tools at that point.
Right. Early on.
And
yeah.
and Paul's a great guy. I mean, they have nothing but great stories. And Hagfish did demos with him. We were going to get him to do our record.
Nice.
And the one story he told us is he was making that Meat Puppets record, you know. That was
right.
big.
The one Too High to Die, right? Is
Yep,
that it?
that's the
Yeah.
one. So the
I can picture
story
the
is-
cassette cover. Cassette.
Yeah.
Because that's what I had it on.
So the story that he told us was, the guys that in the same label that we were on, that Meat Puppets were on London.
Right.
So same A&R guys, so our A&R guy and the two heads of London flew out to Arizona where they were recording.
Mm-hmm.
And they were there all day hanging out. They took the band to dinner, they took Paul to dinner, all this stuff, and hung out and just they were there all day spending money. So they were like, well, let's go back to the studio. And he goes, okay, cool. So they sit down and they start going, all right, so we want to hear something. And Paul goes, all right, cool. So he starts cranking Grand Funk, you know, and just like, fuck yeah, hanging out. And they were like, the fuck is this? And he goes, it's Grand Funk. And they were like, you said you wanted to hear something. Like, we want to hear their album. Oh, we're not done with it. You're not hearing it until I'm done. Anyway, here's some Grand Funk.
Back to the Grand Funk now. Yeah.
Back to the Grand Funk.
Back to the
We're not hearing
railroad.
the album. And they were like, so we came out all this way and all you're going to do is play Grand Funk. Yep.
There you go. Paul Leary, everybody.
Yeah. Paul Leary, everybody. It's awesome. Texas. That is Texas.
That is Texas in a nutshell. Yeah. So when Hagfish, because Hagfish does wind down, and then Zach ends up joining Guar, right? I think you guys do something in between that, right? Like you and him do.
Yeah, we had a band called El Diablo. We also did a band called Armstrong.
Right.
Zach wrote that record, and it's got some songs on it that Hagfish didn't do. It's very Hagfish adjacent. We went out and did one tour. It was like an owned and operated tour. And that band that lasted about probably a couple of years. But from that, Zach joined, started up Only Crime with Bill and Russ and Aaron Dalby.
That's right. Yeah.
And then I joined, and then we opened up for Rise Against. There you go.
So there you go. The rest is history. Yeah, yeah.
And the rest is history.
Proof positive. You stick around long enough, cool stuff does happen, right?
Well, it does, but also if you have, I think you can have those opportunities, but if you don't have the belief in yourself,
Right.
And I'm biased because it's my brother, and I think he's the best guitar player and he's the best ever.
He puts in the work. Yeah, I mean, he does the
He
work.
fucking
Right?
puts in the work. When we were kids, he was putting in the work. He never stopped putting in the work. I mean, he still does it. He still practices all the time. He'll do online college with Berkeley to learn jazz and blues. He's putting in the work.
Right.
So he knows the opportunity he's got, and he's like, well, I'm going to stay good at my instrument or writing songs or demoing or anything about anything music. He put in the work. He never stopped. He never took a break. So when that opportunity came to him, he was ready, you know, and not a lot of people are. And Zach had the right attitude. He had the right political beliefs. He had the right sensibility. He had the right, not that you have to be in a certain political sense to be in that band, but he did share the same causes that they have, you know what I mean? And the same the same thoughts that they do. And he already knew them. We toured with him so long, and he was friends with them.
And they
And
know
it
he's
was
not a pain in the ass too. And like, not
yeah,
to put it
exactly.
bluntly, like something I've said in the past is like, look, you can hand me the best player in the world. Like if I don't want to be in a band with them, there ain't no way it's happening. You know, like
Oh
it's
yeah,
and by the
yeah,
same token, if someone is the right personality, they can grow into the role and they can
yeah,
find what it is. And you kind of know who can and can't do that. So when you meet someone that can, right, that you kind of like, oh, I
yeah.
know you're going to be able to kill this. You know?
That's part of it, man. Anyone can learn the gig, but if the
Sure.
hang sucks, who cares how good you are? It doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
If you're a shitty hang, you gotta go. You gotta kick
You
rocks.
end up being
You know?
like the police where they travel in separate buses or something
Yeah,
along those lines. I was like,
yeah,
what, really? Okay, sure, whatever. I
yeah.
get it.
That kills the dream,
Yeah, exactly.
And
The
yeah,
monkeys, it isn't.
it's never the monkeys.
No.
People think it is. I have to tell them that all the time. It's not the monkeys.
Yeah.
But Zach and I got really lucky, with the bands that we're in. We really did.
So how did it come to pass with you actually joining Toadies? Because it's interesting to me that, first of all, I don't know. As big of a fan of it was of Hagfish, I just didn't know that for a long time until you'd been in the. I was like, what? The guy from Hagfish is in Toadies? When did that happen? And the answer was years ago. I was like, oh, my bad. Sorry, I guess I didn't keep up with the local goths. I don't know.
Well,
I consider myself relatively plugged in. I had no idea. Yeah, I was like, oh, Christ.
now I know.
Now
Well,
I know.
it's all fairly the Dallas seems fairly insular,
Yeah.
and it turns out like Clark, our guitar player, had a band called Funland back in the day. And you know, we were huge Funland fans. If you look in Buick then, right, and the crowd
Uh-huh.
shot,
Yeah.
Clark is in the shot. He's in the we put our favorite bands in there, like Joey Ramone. We
Yeah.
put bands. There's some really tripping Daisy guys. Clark is in there. Him and Peter Schmidt from Funland, because we were huge Funland fans.
Yeah.
And so I already knew him, and I knew Rez pretty much okay, because he was, when the band broke up, he had this country band called 1100 Springs.
Mm.
Great fucking band. And when the band broke up, Vaden, our singer, did Burden Brothers that Zach was in for about a year before he was in Rise
Cool.
Against and Omicron. He played with them. So there was always this. We all knew each other,
Cross-pollination. There's a lot of cross-pollination.
Exactly.
A lot of, yeah.
And I found out about the gig. Clark and Tony Barsotti from Hagfish were good friends. And Tony was like, dude, Clark told me they might be looking for a new bass player. I'm like, why? Are they getting back together? And he said, I think so. So I sent a email or like a message on their MySpace account. How fucking long ago it was.
You know what? I'm ready to go back, by the way. I'm ready to.
Yeah.
I talked trash at the time. I'm ready to go back. Let's do it.
I liked
I'm
it.
ready.
It was good, It was good.
Was
I
it your
sent
top
them a
8
message.
and like the blingy? Great. Bring it back. Bring it on. That's better than the
The
hellscape we have
MySpace
now.
hair,
I
the
know.
swoops,
Yeah,
bring
right.
back alternative press, all
So many
that shit.
swoops. Yeah,
right?
yeah. Get Jason. Get Pettigrew on the line. We're bringing back AP.
Well, and they so
I don't know who I'm
sent
giving that
them-
order to, by the way. But anyway, I'm still giving the order.
Someone will
nonetheless.
take it.
Yeah.
Someone will take it. They're like, that's the good old days.
They brought back Cream. Why not? Anyway, moving on. So
Well, I sent them a message and I said, hey, this is Doni Blair. I didn't know who was going to be on the end. And it ended up being two people I've known forever who turned out to be our managers, Dale and Tammy. And they're, hey, Donnie, it's Tammy and Dale. Here's the deal. The audition is in about a month and a half to 2 months. And it's a pick gig, all downstrokes.
right.
Is that okay? And I was like, yeah, of course it's okay. Lying through my fucking teeth. I couldn't play with a pick to save my fucking life. Like, okay, but now's not the time to admit it. Like, I can
Yeah.
learn
Oh,
to play pick.
sure. Yeah.
So I called my brother immediately, and he was actually in the, they were making Appeal to Reason, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I called him, and I was like, dude, I think I've got an audition with the Toadies. He was like, what? aren't they broken up? And I just told him the whole thing, and he goes, "Oh, dude, you'll do great. With your fingers and all that. It'll be a little different." And I'm like, "No, it's a pick gig, all
Yeah,
down
they
strokes."
they know the sound that they want, and they don't
And
deviation from
Zach
that. Sure.
goes, "My brother," I told him, and he goes, "Oh shit." Yeah. Fuck. You got any tips? And he was like, "Well, so what happened? I would go home every day and just play with the pick, and I would do scales. I would do warm-up exercises. I didn't do just Toady songs. I wanted to know how to play with the pick, not I could play Toady songs with the pick, but anything
You can
else,
rock like the beginning of Six Pack and all the bass lines,
everything. Yeah, I'll do all of Descendants, but
Sure.
I can't do it. I can't do shit with the pick. So every day I would come home from work and practice with the pick. I would play Ramones. I would play Deep Purple. I would play fucking anything with the pick. And so Zach was like, "All right, look, we're recording." I mean, it was up in Fort Collins. So anyway, so he flew my wife and I up to hang out for the weekend, just to hang out.
Nice.
And at night we'd be at his apartment practicing, and he would just show me different things with my right hand on how to do and how to hold it and how to work on it and stuff.
Yeah.
And so then I think about a couple of weeks after that, I went for the audition, and I was in and out. Like, I called my wife. Like, "All right, I'm going to go in, honey. I'll call you when I'm done."
See you on the other side.
And then, see you on the other side. And Vaden had been singing all day, doing auditions and singing. They were making the No Deliverance record. So we only did 3 songs. His throat was killing him.
Yeah.
And I
You do that all day, especially. This is boy.
Yeah, he was like, "Dude, I mean, I think I'd learned 10 songs for the audition. We ended only up doing 3." And, I went back and called her, got back in the car, and it was only a 30-minute lapse that it took.
Yeah.
So I called her, and she goes, "Ooh, that's not good." I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah.
But to me, I didn't have any inkling that I would get the gig. I was like, I know some of the guys who were auditioning, and I'm like, "I'm not gonna get this fucking gig." So I was just stoked that I got to go and play. I believe I played Tyler. I think we did Backslider, and I think we did Little Sin. Maybe one more. I don't know. Can't remember what it was.
Just a little Reader's Digest sampling to see what you can do. Right?
Pretty much just to see what I could do. And I was like, "All right, this was cool. I had a great time. I'm gonna go home, go back and do my Nerd Surf instrumental band, but I got to go and play Toadies."
Sure.
I'm stoked, And I think it was a few days later they called me and said that I had it, and they have regretted it ever since.
Well, at this point, that's like what, like 15 years ago, something like along those lines. I mean, like it's pretty long run. So obviously, it's working out.
Every time they're like, "God damn it, Donnie!" Like, "Hey, you said I got the gig. This is on you fuckers. You did this, not me. You did this, guys." But that's the other thing is, we've been together for so long, and we don't have disagreements. If we do, since we're all older men. I mean, I'll be 52 tomorrow. I'm the youngest in the band.
Happy birthday! Yeah.
Thank you.
Exactly. You're the baby of the band. Yeah.
Literally, but we know how to speak to each other. We know how to, comport ourselves like grown men. We know how to speak to each other like grown men. We're not grown men. We act like fucking morons. But the other thing I love about
you can behave like it though, which keeps the peace, which is good.
Somewhat. In public, we can behave like it, but behind closed doors, no. I mean, and that's the thing. All 4 of us, when we get together, we fucking crack up. It is.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun. We just were together for 2 weeks every fucking day in the studio with Steve. And it was, before that, we were together for a month in the studio with Steve.
Yeah.
And going to the studio, leaving the studio, while we're in the studio, we had fun. We have fun. When we're together, like, we're not the monkeys. We're not like, "All right, now let's all go and have dinner together." No.
Right.
We're going to go to our hotel room. We're going to go do our own thing.
Right. Yeah,
but when we're together, we get along amazingly well. We speak to each other with respect, And that's the biggest thing is we fucking crack up all the time. That's what I love the most about it.
Well, and it seems like there's a real nice, peaceable vibe to all of it. Not peaceable, but like real like everyone's on the same page. Everyone's like moving towards the same goal.
We're hardcore with it. We work hard at this. We make sure that we practice hard. We make sure we show up to practice having practiced.
Yeah.
We know the material.
What a wild idea. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. We don't
You're
just
saying
show up
practice
like, okay.
before the practice.
Yes. And that's the thing is this is, people pay good money to come see us. We know what that is, especially, post COVID. We all thought it was dead. And so people are spending their good money to come see us. So we want to make sure, and especially Vaden, our singer, is hardcore with rehearsing. Even when we might think like, I've said this before, like, I think we'll be fine. He's like, dude, no, let's practice.
Don't think. Yeah.
All right.
Well, what's the saying? Be ready so you don't have to get ready.
That's exactly it. There's no first day of tour.
Yeah.
There is no first day of tour. And we rehearse our asses off beforehand, We work at it very hard to go up and just be able to, that way when we're on stage, we can have fun and relax, where it's not such a slog and like, oh, I got to remember this and think of that. That way it can be free and natural, and we can just have a good time and let the crowd have a good time to hear our songs about cutting girls up and putting them in trunks of cars and shit like that.
Other
Who doesn't
want
to have another feel good hits about jigsaw girls and burning and having your blood sucked out by a vampire or something. Who knows? Wait till they hear the new record. It's 12 hits of just gaggle them and giggles and goofiness, and it's not.
Right. Well, yeah, and it occurred to me this last story I just did in March. I was like, I haven't paid that much attention to what they've been up to. Let me see what they've been up to. And by what they've been up to, I mean more or less since you joined the band. I was like, oh, I should check this out. And I was like, oh, this is all really cool. And I even went back all the way to the catalog, and I was like, you know what? This is actually better than I even remembered. It makes sense that there's people that engage with this music that stick with it. You know what I mean? Because there's bands that's oh, people are into that band, and then next week they're into a different band, and that band, what happened to them? And there's bands where people stay with it. They get every new record, they go see it, and especially when there's heart to it, and especially when there's a story behind it that is beyond just we're a band and we make records and play shows. And I think that there is a certain heart to what Toadies do.
We don't just put records out just to put them out. Vaden didn't just It takes a bit. If he's got a good amount of songs, and for the last record, the one that has yet to come out,
the one he did with Steve Albini. By the way, the Steve in question is Steve Albini. Everybody, just so you're aware. His first name basis is Doni, but if you don't know, then
I think he's you. That's his name with me.
Hey, guy.
Hey, guy. But
what's up there, Chief?
What's up, sport? Hey, champ, you're good to go.
Love Steve Albini, friend of the show, but it's fine.
And that's the thing is we got along great with Steve.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve knew that we had so much respect for him going into it, and we listened.
If you're gonna get a band that is sounding good, playing their songs in a room, tell me who's better.
Yeah,
you're not gonna get sousaphone overdubs or whatever if that's not something that's already happening. But
we learned so much from him, man. You wouldn't believe. I can't stress enough for good bands to go and work with Steve. You will learn so much because.
Were you an A or B?
A. We were an A.
I mean, they both sound amazing, but it's just a slightly different vibe.
It was we looked at B and we thought we were going to be in B, but then they're like, no, we thought you guys wanted A. All right, fine, fuck it, we'll take A. And that's where we were a few weeks ago too, recording. And
they both sound great.
It's just with Steve. I mean, Steve is so many great, just his humor, and I think he's gotten a bad rep because people don't know how to take him. Maybe it's just us that he's our kind of person. He's very dry, very sarcastic, but so's our other producer, Rob Schnaff, that's done a lot of stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Rob's amazing guy. And so he and Steve are a lot alike in regard, but just, sitting there and hearing what Steve would have to say, like, hey, we could do this, we can do that. And then we just go and play it. And the new record that hopefully it'll be out next year, maybe into this year early. We're trying to figure all that out. It's dark. Vaden wrote it during the pandemic. So there aren't, and like on some of the other records we had, there were some nicer, more upbeat songs.
Right. There's some a little sugar to help the medicine go down.
There is. There's no sugar on this album at all. There's not a single second of sugar, and there's some really dark songs, and I fucking love it. The way we play it, the way it sounds, there's no it's just the sound of a band that's been playing together forever at sounding great. I mean, I couldn't be happier with it.
And this is like going to be like what, the 8th Toadies record, right?
I believe so. It's my 4th record I've made. I made Play Rock Music. We did Heretics.
Right.
We did live album. We did Lower Side of Uptown, and then this one. It's going to be called The Charmer. That's what we're naming it.
Right. Okay. Nice.
And it's going to be cool.
And there's a vitality to it, and it's interesting how few stories get told of long-lived bands. In the fact that, first of all, I mean, Almost Famous poisoned a few generations, even though I like the movie. That it's everyone's a temporarily embarrassed superstar, right? And of course, it's like, oh well, by the time a band hits their 3rd record, then it's over. I'm like, well, for some bands, maybe some bands get better. Some bands just like do different stuff, and they continue to. And if you like that thing, maybe you'll like this next record.
Yeah.
And there's not a popular monoculture lexicon for that. I've noticed, and it can be something where people are like, oh, didn't they have a hit in the 90s? Did they get back together? Like that kind of just, knowing only this small segment of the history. I'm like, all right, you're not going to be able to win over
fine.
The grocery store clerk necessarily.
But you know what? We get a lot of that. We get people that go, man, I only knew you guys with that one song. Then I went back and listened to everything. And it's been, it will have been 12 years. I'll hear them tell me this, like, I've got everything you've got. I love you guys, and it's not one small
It's not
section.
just the one thing. Right, yeah.
It's not. Like, the shows we're playing, they're sold out. They're packed. Our last tour was damn near the entire thing was sold out, So
it's not like in Peace and Love, but it's not like a Nebula or the Riverdale or something along those lines where I know exactly what this is going to sound like. Which doesn't say it's a bad thing, but like I know exactly what that is going to sound like this. And you push the button and it sounds like that.
This sounds like the Toadies, but it sounds way cooler. I don't know. Steve did a great job with us. He pushed us. There's some really cool moments on it that you wouldn't think would come from him. I mean, he was super cool with whatever we wanted to do. At first we were like, can we do this? He was like, I don't give a shit. You can do whatever you want.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, what
do you got to lose? Just
Exactly.
make the record you want to make.
And one of the stories, I'd play tambourine on something, me and Rez had, and I said, Steve, does that sound good? And he went, huh? I said, well, does the tambourine sound good? It's tambourine. Who gives a shit? Like, yeah, you're right. Who really gives a shit?
I mean, is he wrong? It's like
he's not wrong.
There's a reason why it's the instrument most given to the non-musical girlfriend.
It's
not to be sexist, but that's the trope, right? That's the
was
trope.
Recorded amazing.
Yeah,
so Steve put the best mics on it.
It sounded the
fucking tambourine.
Best tambourine you've
great.
ever heard. Yeah.
Oh God, it
sounds like thunder. I'm sure. Yeah.
And that's what it was to him. He had great ideas, and he was not shy about sharing them with us. And if we didn't like them, like, I don't know, maybe this. But he just kept like, hey, how about this? You could try this whole thing,
Well, not so good because, like, I think of Toadies as like there used to be the phrase modern rock, and that meant something. It's like, well, as opposed to what? like classic
I
rock.
know.
And then that became a nothing phrase that people forgot about, and somehow alternative survived, which is again alternative to what? But there are not that many popular rock bands that are not
Still
throwback
playing,
music that are like, there's bands that sound, oh, that sounds exactly like Led Zeppelin. Cool, I have Led Zeppelin records, I can listen to that. There's that kind of thing. But other than there's a few examples. Queens of the Stone Age, right? That's a good one. There's generally speaking, like whatever Jack White's up to, usually that's pretty interesting. But like, unless it's some weird freak like Idols being big blows my mind, where I'm like, that band is genuinely strange, and I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah.
At least for the normies. Is it generally strange, if like your favorite band is Tongue Party?
For
No,
us,
probably not. But
no.
that's fine. Like I'm talking about music fans, not nerds on the internet.
Yeah.
And that kind of music being big is good for everybody, because that kind of widens people's perspectives, I think. Personally.
I agree. And it makes it easier for bands like us. And it's
Right.
but in the same regard, it's like whenever Zach and I were growing up, we loved our parents' music. We loved The Who, we loved Zeppelin. We loved
Your
that
dad was
stuff.
like a radio a rock
Yeah.
DJ, right? If I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
he turned us on to everything.
Yeah.
So we liked what he liked. But now we're getting kids at our shows whose parents grew up listening to the band, so they didn't stop listening to the Toadies. They didn't stop
Sure.
listening to this stuff. So these kids grew up on us, and this isn't just in Texas. This is kids in, fucking Illinois, Seattle, Florida. We've met them all, and they're like, "Man, I love this," and they'll start counting off. It's not just PK. It's not just Tyler. It's like I said, they'll love Hell Below. They'll talk about their favorite songs on Play Rock Music. Hey, what were you doing on this song?
Because it all exists in the same. They're experiencing that all at the same time. It's not like there aren't years and years between those records for them. They're all finding about them right now, and like it has to sit next to each
right
other.
now.
Yeah,
exactly. They're getting it immediately, and they're able to just consume it all right now. And they're like, oh wait, those guys are coming to my town. Holy shit, let's go.
Yeah.
And it's great to see that. And I can tell when they've just heard the one song. But the majority of the people that we get, they're the people who have heard the entire catalog. And it's so nice to hear that. Like, okay, well, they'll be asking about the new song, the new record. And like, well, we're going to play a lot of it tonight. And then after it, I'll see these people and they're like, I fucking love the new songs, And it's really nice to hear. It's nice to hear that, we're putting our hearts into it and we're getting that back without the record even being out. There's excitement because it's like Toadies and Steve Albini. That's like putting your chocolate in my peanut butter.
Right. I'm stoked to hear that. Sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
And speaking to your earlier point, it reminds me of I saw Hum.
Great band.
Years ago, but not that many years ago. But like I guess COVID time, it was years ago. But like they played, Stars, the big '90s hit. They played a fourth or fifth song in, and a bunch of people left. And I'm like, wow, really? Because for me, Hum is like, oh, that's an album band. Like their albums are so grandiose and deep and like, oh, there's so much like depth to everything they do. That's like, and it's such a bizarre. The guitar player is like a metal guy, just absolutely shredding on songs that, you wouldn't think, wow, this would be like a shoegaze song if it wasn't for this pentatonic scales going over it, crazy.
Exactly. And we get that as well, but we get it. We know where to put the set. And sometimes we will play PK early just to see. Like,
just to see if everybody, all right, night's over.
And they stay, and they will stay.
So
it's like, all right. We're good. We're past that shit now.
And to that song's credit, which I guess we should talk about, even though it's technically before your time writing. Obviously, it's the hit, right? It's the
totally.
Freebird of of the Toadies set, right?
It really is. Yeah.
But totally. I was thinking about it. It's an interesting song because it's a really surreptitious hook. Like that guitar line is so kind of weird and seasick. Like it's sort of like. But it does kind of get in your head, and you're just like, oh yeah,
it always has, yeah.
And then you'll hum it and be like, wow, where did that come from? That's great. That's insane. I wouldn't have thought of that.
And he never says Possum Kingdom in it ever.
Yeah, ever.
Like,
At no point. Which I'm a big fan of that, by the way.
And that's what I do
AKA,
love
do you
about,
want to die? I think it's, as people call it, right?
yeah, but that's the hook. And that's what
Yeah,
I
which is a
do love about our band
great
is
fucking hook. Yeah.
there are the bands like Everclear and
Yeah.
Stone Temple Pilots, and there's those bands that had those hits that you heard in the 90s, but they all, and Sugar Ray and all those bands and stuff, and they were all huge, but then they all went and did their thing. The band got big with that, but now we can still sell out places. It's
It's
like this
sustainable.
underground, it's a weird cult thing that we
Right.
kind of have. It's like, oh yeah, you guys have that huge hit, but there's also this, and this that and
It's funny that I just had Danver from Chumbawamba on too. Like, because I didn't do that intentionally, but it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of the same thing of like, no, band with a lot of history and doing like a lot of different things and didn't stop doing things, but like people still only are frozen in amber with that one song, which is a good song. Don't get me wrong.
It's a great song.
Yeah. Like,
but I mean, we have it's in the history of the band. There's so many more albums,
so
and some
many
people,
more. Yeah.
there's a majority of people that don't, but those people aren't the ones that come and see us regularly when we go tour. When we go tour and these shows sell out,
Yeah.
it's people who know, like, oh, they're going to probably play, Polly Jean from this record, or they're going to play Little Sin. They're going to, oh, I hope they play this song from Play Rock Music. Oh, wow, maybe they're going to do this. Maybe they know fucking all of it, And they're like, yeah, of course you're going to play some Rubberneck stuff. A lot of them are like, they want to hear the other shit too,
Because if they're a catalog fan, they're going to want to hear the songs that they don't hear every time. Like, it's not like, it's not like a situation where they're going to want to hear the same stuff. I mean, the other side of that is like Wire, right? Where like Wire just absolutely, who I adore, but they would like people be vibing on Pink Flag and they're like, nope, we're doing Chairs Missing now. And be like, oh, cool, I like that one too. Cool, we're doing 154 now. Like they're always like one ahead. Husker Du, that's another
Chairs
one. Right?
Missing. What a great fucking record, Chairs Missing. Jesus.
Amazing. One of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, it's such a great record, man.
And so they're the fans that get they have the record they like and they want to hear the songs from that record. And then there's the fans that are like, we're just down to see whatever they're up to. Like whatever they're doing is like, that's what I want to see. Hot Snakes was a great example of that. Like, I don't even care what I'm playing. It's going to be great. Like whatever it's going to be killer,
Rocket from the Crypt.
Rocket from the Crypt, another one.
Huge. I've got the tattoo here on my hand.
Nice.
I'm surrounded by Rocket from the Crypt posters. They're our band.
I got John Reese to agree to be on this show. Like, I swear, like when I started it and I still haven't been able to pull that off. That's like the one. I have two white whales that I'm like, I got them to agree and they didn't do it. And it's John
Speedo's
Reese.
a white whale, man. Speedo's a white whale.
He doesn't do that kind of stuff normally. So I did get to have Froberg on before that. And that was great.
Nice.
And
Nice.
Mario Rubicalba. He's like one of it. That guy is like, how many amazing bands has that guy been in? Jesus.
Speedo's new song too.
Oh my
His new
God! Yeah,
the
Bed of Nails.
You kill a banana.
Right? Yeah. That guy's an American treasure. He really is.
It came out, and my brother sent it to me. He was like, "Have you fucking heard this yet?"
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a great song.
He's got it. There's a Night Marchers, which is maybe his second most underappreciated band. He has all hits, which I'm like, that's the perfect song for you to write because they're all hits, man.
All hits is that's a Rocket from the Crypt song that never exists with the horns.
Yeah,
That record, like, I love. What was the first Night Marchers? Something about Comes the Night or Magic.
See you in Magic. See you in Magic.
See you in Magic.
I have the
Good
T-shirt
record.
somewhere. Yeah.
But that Allez-Vous, the second Night Marchers record, and the entire from beginning to end is just an incredible record.
Like that, was it Tropical Depression? That first song where it's just like, oh yeah, we're in for it. This is good.
Oh.
This is good business here.
Yeah, dude. That Javelinaville song, I will listen to the Javelinaville on repeat probably
So
6
good.
times straight. Then I can go into the rest of the record. Just an amazing record. That guy's just, he's an American treasure. John Reese is an American treasure.
And also come on the show, John Reese. You already agreed to it once. Do it.
Yes, Speedo. Do it.
Get with
Get on
it.
the show, Speedo. Come on,
God damn it.
Do it.
But have you? Sorry, plosives. Have you heard plosives?
Yeah. Yeah, Zach
Also
turned me on
great.
to plosives as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, it's that's the thing that he keeps doing. He even had God damn it, he had a surf band as well.
With the blind shake. Yeah.
That's what it is. Yes,
Label mates of
and
mine and good friends from way back when,
yeah,
but straight up surf record, which they didn't
it's
realize. I was
great.
like, that's what we're doing? Oh, okay, cool. That's sure.
It's great.
It's really
And
good.
so he does that and the Sultans.
Yeah.
I mean,
So great.
fucking Sultans. It's like everything the guy does, I have. I don't like. Oh, it's John Reese. Okay, let's get it.
There was I'm gonna stop bringing things back to me, but there was a show we played, and it was a really good show. And the guy who runs the place afterwards came up like, "Hey, I don't want you to take this wrong way." I'm like, "Oh, great. What's he gonna say?" He's like, "You remind me of John Reese." I'm like, "You just paid me the best compliment anyone could ever say." Someone else once said, your stage presence kind of reminds me of James Brown. Oh, one of the greatest performers of all time. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. Like,
Exactly.
how would
Like,
you be mad at that? How would you be mad at that? Jesus Christ.
don't take this the wrong way, but you remind me of the singer from Rocket from the Crypt.
Right. Okay.
Thanks.
It's like, okay, I'll take it,
Thanks. Yeah, no shit. God. Yeah,
So
that's a compliment. Go ahead.
It is. So Toadies has the kind of there's a kind of fan that where there's folks that still brings in new people, but there's the people that have stuck with you for the entire journey, that have stayed with it, and that are. It's not like the Creedence Clearwater every record every year kind of situation, but when one comes out, people engage with it. People deal with it and deal with it. It's not trauma. They listen to it and they make it part of their lives in regards to their relationship with the band, and which is not always a uniform shared thing. But I always appreciate it. Again, once I understood that, and I hate to say it because it's made me sink some attention into actual one-hit wonders. I'm like, oh, there's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing here. But there are a couple instances where where I'm like, wow, I sold them for forever. I better learn all I can about this band. Oh no, that's all they had. They had one in the tank, and that's all it was. Not the case with Toadies at all.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. And we all knew it. Picking up the albums and stuff before. So when I got in the band, I was already a huge fan.
Sure.
I knew Rubberneck back and forth. I knew Hell Below back and forth, and then they let me hear No Deliverance, and I loved that fucking record.
Yeah,
and
so they're all like, it's not the same thing. It's not exactly the same thing too. And that's what's interesting about it to me.
It sounds like us, and that every record sounds like us, but they're not different. I think on Play Rock Music we had a song called Epic Castles.
Right.
That is our version of Gang of Four and Talking Heads.
Oh, totally. Yeah, because it's got that nervy kind of new wavy thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And it doesn't sound like the Toadies. We never played it live, but it didn't matter. We were like, okay, this is just a song we're going to put on the record because we want to do it and it's fun. And we do that shit a lot,
And do you come from the mind? So that's interesting you mentioned that, because do you come from the mindset? Because this was something I hung up on for a while. That's like, oh, well, if it's songs on the record, that's a song that we had to play every night for the last 2 years until all joy has been removed. And then now it's just like, oh, yeah, this one's cool. Will we play it? Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah, we don't know.
We got a lot of songs.
We have a lot of songs that we have to get through. And we have a lot that, there's songs that we cycled in and out of the set list. Like
you get tired of them. Right. And you're like, you know what? Let's give that one a break for a while. Bring it back a couple of years later. Oh yeah, it's fun again. Let's
exactly. Like, oh, that song's fun to play again. Let's do this. So we have so many songs that there's B-sides. There's stuff that people love to hear that they don't get to hear, that we want to just play, that they want us to put in. So it's like,
sometimes
let's do that.
You got to do a Kelly Clarkson cover. It's
yeah. You know what's weird? That the day that song came out, that version came out, her new album came out.
Oh, no kidding. Really?
Well,
that's awesome.
And apparently there's a lyric on one of her songs that's something like, yeah, the Toadies are my favorite band, something like that. Vaden
really?
Met her. Yes.
Wow.
From what we've heard, I'm pretty sure she's from, it's not Cleburne. It's Burleson, which is basically 20 minutes south of Dallas. You know,
That's
it's the
awesome.
Southern Sherman, basically. But we rated something that she had used to go see Hagfish also. So
Well, she
she
just
used to
got a
go
lot
see
cooler in my
shows.
book. I mean, that she needs my
She's cool.
opinion,
I
but
mean, if you watch her show, my wife and I will watch her show.
yeah,
Um, she's basically the girl that we grew up with, you know.
that
I
rules.
mean,
Okay, nice.
kind of irreverent, doesn't really care at
Yeah,
all. It's just very y'all this, y'all that, you know, really has a liberal use of curse words, you know.
yeah, sure. Yeah,
But she's
absolutely.
still a lady. It's cool, you know,
Yeah,
but doesn't care what you think about her, you know. So she's, you know, watching her on her shows, like we kind of crack up because I think to the rest of America, it's like, oh, wow, she's just this nice, you know, kind of down home Southern girl. Whereas Texans are like, no, she's just a girl from Texas. That's who we all grew
that's
up.
right. Yeah, that's like half the women we know. Yeah, exactly.
I married that. You know, that's who we,
Right.
it's
Word.
great, you know, seriously. So yeah,
Well,
she's
good for you.
super. I
Okay,
haven't met
cool.
her yet, but she got a great head on her shoulders and like loves good music. And
That's
Vaden went
awesome.
and met her at one of her shows and said it was really cool to meet her. And she was really nice, really cool.
When's the
You
collab
know,
record? Let's go. Let's get it on.
that would rule.
That
Yeah,
would be awesome. That'd be like
that would
Flaming Lips and
done.
Miley Cyrus, right? That was a thing that happened, I think, if I remember
Why
correctly.
not?
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, why not? You
No
know,
rules anymore.
yeah. When he threw that cover out, our drummer threw that idea out, and he
It's a
was
ripping
like,
tune. I mean,
"It's a great song, man."
yeah.
And he was like, "I've always wanted to do this because I wanted to do Big Boys. Like, let's do a Big Boys song."
Hell
And
yeah.
Raz was like, let's do Kelly Clarkson." And then Vaden was like, "Yeah, let's do that." Like, all right,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, let's see. And God, I mean, whenever he goes into that chorus,
Yeah.
it's
Like, does
pretty
the room
fucking
just
cool.
explode? I'm sure. I mean, like, it's got to be because that's culturally ubiquitous in a way that, like, what was the television show? She was on some television show, right? That was like that's how she came to
American
attention.
Idol.
Okay,
Yeah,
never seen it.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
whatever. Not my beat. It's
No, no,
not my
nor mine.
bag, baby. But
Nuh-uh.
but- peace and love. But like, yeah. Still, I remember it being, I don't know, in a supermarket, let's say, or something like buying potatoes and being hearing like, huh, that's a pretty catchy tune, you know?
It's an
It's like,
amazing song. It's a great song. And when
and
he nails it, he played us the demo of it and then sang it.
yeah,
He did that. Clark and I had gone to get a pizza. He had done all the vocals for that within like, I think an hour, you know? Some
that's amazing.
fucking crazy thing. That's that guy's voice. We were like, what do you guys think? Does it sound okay? We're like,
You're like,
yeah, dude, it sounds
yes, it
really
does.
badass. Okay.
Moving
This is
on, what's
kind of
next?
how, yeah, moving on. That's how he does this shit, though. And it's like, yeah, like it's easy to him. Like, yeah, dude, it's
Yeah,
normal human beings can't do this. You know that, right?
right,
Really?
right. Well, it's such a
Yeah,
talent, you know, and that's
it is. He doesn't think of it that way. It's just how he is and how he
I
sings, you know.
I don't know why I know this, but the guy, one of the guys who wrote that Dr. Luke dude, one of these that wrote the song, I think he said it's partially inspired by Yeah Yeah Yeah's song,
Wow.
which is sort of
That's
like, oh wow, that's crazy, like because it's like I could totally once I heard that I was like, oh, I can totally hear that,
that's awesome. I
but
did
it's
not know that.
like
That's cool.
underground to super mainstream, you know, back to underground, great. I mean, that's I love that
Wow.
kind of stuff. Yeah, isn't
Yeah.
that cool?
But yeah, it's a fun song to play and to hear the crowd kind of just get into it and
Yeah,
go, wow, this is cool that they're doing this. What are these four dudes doing this song, you know,
yeah,
and pulling it off, you know, because you got to have the pipes for that. Not everyone can do it. And luckily, you know, that kid can pull it off, you know.
yeah. That's great. Few things I want to make sure we get to. I be disingenuous to not mention the Dia De Los Toadies.
Oh,
Those are
nice.
so
Yeah,
cool. I never I
thank you.
assume they're so cool. I've never seen one, but like I was like, oh, and I like that. That is a thing that. So first of all, those have been going on for a while. That's like 2008 or something, right? Like it's been a minute.
We did them for like 10 years. We
Yeah, that's a
stopped
lot of.
them I think we're going to bring them back within the next few years.
Hell yeah.
We were going to bring them back this year for the 30th anniversary of Rubberneck, but just
sure.
all
Yeah.
the recording we've been doing and trying to figure out release and all of that, it just kind of got away from us. So I think next year we're going to start that back up. We're going to be doing those again.
That's awesome.
They were
I love
always the most fun when we did. We had Mariachi Bronx and
Yeah.
Helmet play, and it was great. And Matt from Mariachi had told me, he was like, dude, we didn't know what this was going to be. And we were afraid.
What is it? Yeah, let's check it out, you know. and see where it's
Literally,
gonna
he was
go.
like, Donnie, I thought it was going to be like on a fucking flatbed trailer with a PA. I didn't know what it was going to be. Just
Sure.
They knew it was in the middle of the hill country.
Like George Thorogood and the Destroyers style, sure,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and that's what he thought. And he said they got there to the venue that we would do these at, and it's like right in the middle of the hill country. It's a beautiful venue, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Shit, I wish we would have been here yesterday." I said, well, we offered, you know.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah,
I
and
wish too.
you get to have something that's a destination event that people are trusting the taste, the musical taste of like, even if you don't know who all the bands are, you can be assured they're going to be in for something cool.
Yeah, and we tried to give them that variety because the night before we would do like an acoustic set.
Yeah,
that turned into what we did, the Heretics record.
Right,
Well,
that's where that came from. I forgot about that. Yeah,
and it's fun, and I love that record so much. But that came from doing the night one of Dia De Los Toadies, and people, and it would be such a cool thing. It was nerve-wracking, and it would be like, 300-400 people.
Yeah.
Nowhere near the size of the crowd the next day for the rock show, but it was, as soon as we got it done, we could actually breathe. Like, okay, now we can go play our rock show.
Right.
we
did the Daring Hardy thing, and now we can just do the thing that we do.
Well, not even that. I mean, if you screw up with distortion, not everyone's going to hear it. If
There's
you
no
screw
cover. That's a good point. Yeah.
You screw up like in an acoustic setting, everybody's going to hear it.
Yeah. Ooh,
so you've got to be
Yeah.
on. Yeah. Everybody hears that wrong chord or the wrong note or something that happens, and so when we pull it off, and that's it's such a good feeling, like, wow. Whew. And that's another thing of the aspect of the band is we can do that. We can go play these kind of crazy loud songs, but then go do this kind of really nice laid back acoustic type setting as well. And it's
they work intimately as well, and it's the same song, but it's just presented differently. No, that's really interesting, and it reminds me of like Neil Young, right? Who like when I think of Neil Young, who's like one of my biggest guitar inspirations, it's like I think of him just like full on, just wailing, going for it, never enough neck bend, super field player. And then also he played that same song, just like super stripped down. It's like, this rocks too, and in a completely different way. And it's the same song.
Exactly. Exactly.
Great.
Same song, same guy, or he'll go from, playing Ohio, to that, I believe it's Down by the River or something,
Down by the River.
something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just God, I love him, but our parents were hippies, so we had to love him. We grew up with it.
And it's funny to hear that because I had hippie parents as well. So I grew up like having all the great rock records around me. Like, my dad saw like Deep Purple, Dude Got Set on Fire. He saw the Doors at a roller rink. Like,
nice.
My favorite story, and I'm sure I've told the story on air, but I'm gonna say it again. Is that like they saw Led Zeppelin on Day of the Grain, him and my mom. And in 77, I was like, oh, I was born in 77. That's interesting. Well, when was that Day of the Grain? Oh, it was like late August. And I was like, so she was already pregnant with me. That was pretty far along. Man, like, wouldn't that be dangerous for the pregnancy? And my dad goes without me missing a beat. Yeah, but it was Zeppelin. And those are my parents.
Cut from the same cloth. My parents would have been like, "Man, it's Zeppelin. I mean, we're not gonna miss that."
They saw like the Ramones at Winterland for the longest time. They had seen the Ramones and I hadn't. I'm like, I can't believe you've seen the Ramones and I haven't. That's not fair. I don't like that. then I finally saw
That
them
is
at
amazing.
Lollapalooza. So, but
My,
yeah,
my
so
dad had a.
oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry.
No,
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 no. You
you're
go.
the guest.
I would, just my dad had a story like that. He said he was going up to a party up in gosh, I guess in Oklahoma, and he had dropped a bunch of acid, and he said
A lot of my dad's
he
stories start that way too, by the way. So
yeah, he had to pull over because the mountains started doing that song off of Umaguma by Pink Floyd called Millions of Small Furry Animals Gathering Together and Grooving in a Cave with a Pict.
yeah.
And he said the faces were coming out, the whole songs, all of it. And I said, what happened? He was like, well, when it stopped, the sun was up. I said, well, and then what happened? Well, I turned around and went home. I missed the party, obviously. I said, oh, were you bummed? No, really. I had just as good
Had a great time. Yeah.
Like, that's fine. He just turned right around, like, all right, I missed the
Yeah,
party, but
okay.
I still had a good
Had an
time.
experience. Yeah, exactly.
That was my dad. Give him a lemon, he's gonna make lemonade.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it makes sense that his sons would be into rock and roll. You know that you guys
It's his
would.
fault.
It's in the blood.
Yeah. It is his
The die was
fault,
cast early on.
Yeah, totally his fault. I mean, he turned us on to all the best. He turned us on to Oingo Boingo. You
Hell
know,
yeah.
he
I
brought
had Bartek
Oingo
on the show not that long ago. I'm gonna have
Oh,
him on
that's
again
amazing.
because we only got like halfway through the discography, and I was like, dude, you got to come back.
Such a great band, you know. I mean, they're them doing "Ain't This the Life" or "Ain't It the Life" on Erg.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Yeah, and that was my dad bringing that home. Like, hey, you guys should check this out. Like, the hell is this? And then we heard it. Like, okay,
Right.
you know, all the cool stuff we got into was my old man. You know,
That's awesome.
so we got lucky. We got really lucky.
The Toadies exist in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, yeah.
How
Isn't that
cool is
weird?
that?
It's really weird to see me in a comic book. It's not, and our drummer Mark, he also has a comic book called Buzzkill that is about him and a guy named Donnie Cates. And Donnie went on. He writes for Marvel right now. He's been writing the Hulk. He's written Ghost Rider. Donnie's a incredibly talented writer, amazing writer. He's just got a sense of these things. You know what I mean? It's like
That's
Zach
awesome.
with guitar. Donnie is with comic books. It's all he lives and breathes and does. And they wrote, and this was his first comic, and it's about a guy who, the drunker he gets, the more powerful he gets. So
I've known guys like that.
exactly. And so Cates went to AA meetings because this character decides, like, he gets into a battle with his nemesis and destroys half the city. He doesn't remember it because he was blackout drunk. So he decides to go. It starts with him in AA because he can't remember what happened. So he's like, I can't be a superhero anymore. So he can't drink. So he can't be a superhero. So there's no guy patrolling. So the city has crime all over it. And that's where it starts.
That sounds cool as hell, man. I thought that's really neat. I like it.
Yeah, and when he told me about it, I thought it was going to be kind of goofy at first. I think that's how Reza thought about it. But Cates kind of turned it into this amazing story. And
it almost sounds like an idea you come up with in the van, you know, like, oh yeah.
It was. It was.
Yeah.
And now there's some cool things happening with that as well. You know, and when it came out, we were going on tour right when it came out. So we would hit cool comic stores. We hit Golden Apple. This is what was cool as shit. We went to Golden Apple in LA, and we went to their rack, and we're just walking around, and I saw like their picks, like it was like employees' picks, and Buzzkill was on there, and I went, Rez, fucking look at this, dude. He goes, holy shit.
That's awesome. I love
and
that.
they were looking at us. They go, oh, do you guys know who that is? And I went, yeah,
yes,
it's him. This is the guy.
Yes,
and
I
they
do.
were shitting. They were like, what? what? You wrote, holy shit. They're like, wait a minute, you're in the Toadies too, aren't you? And he was like, yeah. So it was for him to have that as well. It was cool to see that for us to go into comic stores because Rez knows more about comics than anyone I know, other than Kate's, you know,
Right.
and to have that validation from other
That's
comic
huge.
lovers.
No,
It's a great comic, man. If you're into comics, read it. It's so good. It's such a good comic. It's well written. It's got a great ending. But that's kind of, what happens when you read them your entire life, and you can come up with something awesome. So I'm proud of him.
Yeah, as someone who came up big time into comics, I'm always deeply appreciative of that kind of thing. It's
Oh yeah, man. Give it a shot. Trust me.
Okay,
You
yeah,
won't be. You
I'll
won't
check it out.
be. It's just fantastic. I love it a lot.
Well, while I'm checking out books, I freaking somehow either knew or just didn't know. Either one is possible. That you yourself have a book. Like, how did I not know? I don't know. I just didn't know this. I found out today. Too late to read it, but by all accounts, it's wonderful. How did that come to pass? I want to be mindful of the time too, but that's like 2017, right? That was like a pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
It was a few years back.
Well, it kind of came out because whenever the band had some time off, I decided I wanted to go back and just go back into martial arts and do Taekwondo. And before Zach and I got into bass and guitar, we were in Taekwondo. It's just something to get rid of our ADHD. Our parents were like, we got to get these two into something or we're gonna fucking kill them.
We grew up with martial arts movies and stuff. It's a good release.
Oh yeah, it had to be because we were at that point. We were just driving our parents crazy with the activity, and we wanted to be.
Did you have any
ninjas.
homemade nunchucks or anything along those lines?
Yeah,
Nice.
Actually, Zach was swinging them around once, and I walked into our room. We always shared a room. He swung them around and just whap, and I went out. I was like, oh, and I woke up like about 20 minutes later, and he was like,
man.
dude, I'm really sorry. Because I had come behind him going, hey, dude, hey, I'm behind you. Quit swinging the nunchucks. And I got nunchucks out of my head and bam. And then I woke up. But anyway, so
you got to channel that into something positive, basically. Let's put that energy towards building something.
Exactly.
Not cracking skulls.
So I wanted to go back and do it. I always felt like there was a missing piece of me that I didn't finish that, So the band had some time off and I wanted to go give it a try. Like, well, who knows what's going to happen.
And how old are you at this point, if you don't mind me asking?
I was 41. I was 41.
Yeah.
And sometimes I felt like when Kramer from Seinfeld was in his karate class with all like the 10-year-olds. Right. Sometimes it was like that. But
like, dumb. Which one of these things is not like the other?
Literally. Well, and I finally got my black belt. And actually a few weeks ago, I had on my socks and on my left foot, I'm left-handed and left-footed. Mm-hmm. And there's a big bump, on my big toe knuckle. It's bigger than the other side. And I had my socks on and Rez was like, is that where you broke your foot? I went, no, broke my foot on the other side. This is where I would kick all the boards. I was like, holy shit, it's big.
Yeah.
I said, you noticed that? He goes, we've been noticing it for years. And then Clark looked at me and was nodding. And then Vaden was like, yeah, we all have seen it, dude. And I didn't notice it. Right. And it's this huge knuckle from breaking boards for tests. I've got like a tub in my garage of 2x4s that we would have to break.
Oh man!
For tests and stuff.
Just go to Home Depot and get like one of the really long ones and have them cut it down or something, or
I think that's what he did. Yeah, it was the master, the Korean master, Master Kim, who's one of the coaches for the U.S. team. He's on council for the Olympics and stuff. Great, he's a great guy. But we had to do a lot of kicks and break the board, and if you didn't, you had to wait and keep trying, and. It hurt, there were some hard-earned tests, but anyway, I got that. I finally got the black belt and just kind of thought I was writing a travel log for a magazine called TKD Times
Hmm.
about what it's like to go and train when you're on tour, because not
Sure.
everybody that does martial arts gets to go to the same dojo or dojang or academy or anything that they do.
Yeah.
Some of us, if we want to keep training, we also do this other gig,
Right.
so we have to find places to train. So I wrote a couple of articles about that. And then I put them together. Like, I think I could form this into a book. And I sent kind of like I guess is it a prospectus, I believe, or something. I think that's the name for it. Basically, I just sent them my idea, and I sent it to a couple of martial arts publishers, and YMAA got back to me like, yeah, we'll put this out.
That's
And
awesome.
I worked with the editor, TG, and great guy. We had a great time writing it. He pushed me, and we got it done. And the publisher, David, was like, I got a great name for it, Donnie. Like, all right, let's hear it. And he goes, Taekwondo rocks. Like, no, 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 please God, no. I can't. Like, no, 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 no. I wanted to jump off a cliff. I was so,
Right, because you're going to be it's your book, so you're going to be
it was
associated
my,
with it for forever. So,
the author of Taekwondo rocks, like forever.
oh
That's
my
what I would be
God,
known
yeah,
as.
that's sounds like an actual nightmare. Yeah.
It was for like about 2 weeks. I would wake up in a sweat, like, no, and so finally he sent me another message like, Donnie, I got a better idea. And he came up with even if it kills me, I'm like, oh, thank God. Yeah, that's so much better than
Yeah.
Taekwondo rocks,
Oh yeah,
you
that's
know.
great. That's aces.
Yeah,
Nothing
he
wrong with
was, I
that at
think
all.
he figured it out, like, yeah, let's go ahead and change this. But it came out, it's cool and yet weird when I find out my friends have read it. Like my wife read it in a
Yeah.
day, and I'd never sweated that much in my life. Just kind of, I was pacing
You're like,
back and
what did I
forth.
say?
Well, not even just that. I do respect her opinion,
Sure.
and she has no problem being honest with me. She's my wife. She doesn't have to lie to
Yeah.
me at all.
Exactly.
She
Yeah.
got done, and I was like, "What did you think?" And she loved it, and she was very honest about it. And same with my brother. Those are the two that made me like, oh, okay. It's because they will not hold back, you
Right.
know.
They're not gonna. They're not trying to blow smoke at you. Yeah.
Fuck
Exactly.
no,
Yeah.
no way. They loved it. So to meet other people that have enjoyed it and people that have even read it and not, I've met a couple and talked to a couple of people who said it made them want to go do what they wanted to do. They were like, and a
That's
couple of
awesome.
them are, yeah, they were like, listen, I don't know really who your band is, and to be honest, I went listen to your band, and I don't really care for it.
Right.
So there's that. They said,
So
and
now that we got that out of the way, good
yeah,
book.
and they're like, and I don't want to do martial arts, but I
Right.
loved your book, and it made me want to go do hiking. I wanted to be a mountain climber, so now I'm climbing mountains, and I'm trying that.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, that's awesome. It's amazing to hear that sometimes it inspired some, not me. It's just that I think people read something out of the book. You know what I mean? They got
They get
something
something out
from
of the
that book.
story of
They
you
did.
finding this thing and searching,
Yeah.
and not necessarily coming at it from a logical perspective. I mean, people don't usually take up martial arts at 41 that I'm aware of, right? Maybe they do. All the
Yeah,
time, but
no, nothing about me's logical, so why start now?
well, sure. I mean, yeah, that's the metric.
Yeah,
But there can be some profundity in the story, right? In the act of getting there, and
yeah,
that,
and that's what I've liked because I've picked up so many things from so many different books that have inspired me that
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, I want to go do this because of that. I read so many different kinds of books to just be inspired
yeah,
to go do it, and that person probably wasn't wanting to do this. They were just putting what was in their head down on the page, and that's all I was trying to do is come up with a kind of a good story that someone could read from beginning to end, whether they liked rock and roll, whether they liked martial arts or nothing. I didn't really give a shit about any of that. I just wanted to have a good story. That was it,
yeah,
and like if they could read it, because I've read books that I didn't care what the fucking subject was, but
right, right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
the book itself was well written and I enjoyed it, had good stories. Like, okay, cool. This is
Yeah.
so that's all I wanted to do, you know, and it so far so good. And hope I'm gonna try and write. I'm beginning and writing another one about jujitsu now.
Oh,
So
fantastic. Nice.
we'll see
So,
how that goes.
so do you feel like that's something that, like, how did it change your life as far as habits and things along those lines? Because again, I'm thinking about, you know, younger men, especially, you know, on tour and stuff like that, living the rock and roll life. It's not a whole lot of self-care usually. It's usually
Yeah,
quite the
yeah,
opposite.
yeah.
And, you know, some people just continue on with that, but most people you kind of have to like figure out, okay, what's important to you, what works, et cetera, et cetera. Has making that a part of your life
Yeah.
been like positive in building those
Oh,
systems, building those
100%.
systems and habits?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it just wanting to be healthy. You know, my dad
Yeah.
unfortunately wasn't, he died of cancer at 44, and it
Jesus.
didn't,
Sorry.
yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, it's been over, you know, I think it's like 33 years ago,
Yeah. That's just
and
that's kind of young, you know. But
yeah, it was young
I
for
mean, I'm
Zach and I.
46, so it's definitely young.
Yeah, yeah.
Anytime it's more than what I am, but it's too young.
That's what's crazy. I've lived longer than my dad was, and
Yeah.
it kind of scared Zach and I straight to be healthy. It's why we were straight edge. It's why we try to not eat a lot of red meat, you know, and take care of ourselves. But now with it, it's also, you know, I feel better now than I did when I was 32. You know,
Yeah.
I'm in a class with a lot of guys who are my age, they're late 40s and early 50s. These guys are monsters, you know? I mean,
Right.
literal monsters. And we get younger kids then,
Right.
and we're tearing these kids up. Yeah, they've got youthful energy and stuff, but it's like, yeah, but we've got old man strength. You
Yeah.
don't know what
Still
that
knock him
shit
right
is yet.
down. Yeah, exactly. y'all seen Rocky Balboa? No, not the first one. I'm
Ex-
talking about Rocky Balboa.
exactly. They don't know what old man strength is yet. It's coming. And
I'll figure it
that's
out
the
where that
guys I'm going with. Oh my
special
God,
kind of rage.
it really is, man. And it's the guy, and this is it's 6 in the morning every morning, you know,
Yeah.
and it's guys trying to take each other's heads off.
Right.
And when we do the damnedest thing, we stand up and hug them like, oh man, that was
Right.
fantastic.
Right. Because it's something. Yeah,
You
it's
made
not
me
like
tap.
it's not personal. You know, it's like no, we're all
No,
doing
no.
this thing that is this. We're pushing towards something. We're pushing towards
We're
something,
trying to
trying to
make
accomplish
each
something
other
together.
better.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
If they tap me, I tap them, we ask each other how we did it. How did you do that? Or how did you get out of that? Well,
Yeah.
I did this and this. That way, the next time you put me in it, I won't be able to get out. We help each other with this.
Right.
We push each other, we train each other. It's like whatever belt you get, yes, you deserve that, but your friends pushed you to get that because we all beat the shit out of each other and we
It.
don't let anyone go, oh, that was good enough. None of us do. It's
Right.
like, did you, was that not like a real tap? Well, like, okay, Dick, no,
Yeah.
it's got to be a real tap or it
Right.
doesn't count. All right. You know, it's the best thing ever. It just keeps you constant. It keeps you solid. It keeps you honest, you know, and it's, to me, it's the best relationships I've had, you know, especially the best friendships because it's just honesty. No one
Right.
bullshits each other. You can't, you know, you have to trust these people because they have your limbs and your life in their hands. You know, I've got to know that this person that's got their hands around my throat, if I tap, they're gonna stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Because if
totally.
they
Yeah. If they don't,
if they don't, I'm fucked. Yeah,
that was an
and
inauspicious Indian. Yeah. You know.
exactly. And I literally trust them with my life,
Right.
and I have to. And you kind of build a lot of great relationships from that, and it's just a respect and honesty key. And we're all there to help each other. There's no egos. I mean, there are people that come into it with egos, but they don't last long. You know,
Right.
it's like a lab. It's you make yourself better um, every day within not even inches. It's like milli-inches. You get better in milli-inches
Yeah.
every day by going, and that's how you gauge your process, not by big things like this. It's like, oh, I was able to do that really quickly and then they got out of it. But hey, I saw it and I got to do it. All right, I'm cool
The
with that.
journey becomes the destination to a certain degree because like you're never gonna. There's not necessarily a peak that you'll maybe there is, but like you're pushing the entire time to make the process the goal is what
You
it sounds
push yourself, yeah, and that's what it is. It's just about pushing yourself. And the older we
like.
get, and that's kind of how I look at it. I want to constantly push myself. I don't want to be just content and the old guy on the front, with my fucking black socks pulled up. If I'm sitting on the porch,
Yeah.
whatever,
Long
with
balls
a
hanging down.
cooler,
All yeah.
literally, I can't. I'm not gonna be that guy. I'll be the
Right.
weird old dude jogging at 65.
Yeah.
Like,
That dude's intense. What's his deal? I
yeah,
can't believe he's going that hard.
that'll be me. 'Cause I
Yeah.
can't sit still. My poor wife. But it's but that's kind of where I channel. Whenever we're home from tour and stuff, that's what I
Yeah.
channel my energy into, and it's just
Nice.
I get everything back. I get back what I put into it. I
love it.
recommend it for everybody.
I got to check this book out now that I know it exists.
Dude.
Sorry, missed the boat on that one too.
When you do, let me know what you think.
I
Okay?
will.
Seriously, let me
I'm
know
the
what
guy
you
who reads them too. Like I will read them
Please
usually
do.
even before the show. Again, if I knew that was the case, and I just somehow missed that, so my bad.
Hey, you'll get it eventually. Then you'll like it. I hope.
There you
Or
go. It's
you'll
like a
hate it.
record,
And
right?
It's like Hagfish. You either love it or you hate it, and I'm fine with either of them. They're like, yeah, your book was okay. Like, I hated it.
Yeah. Terrible.
Cool.
Okay, great. Let's provoke a
Fine.
reaction, didn't it? Okay.
Exactly. Got a reaction. I'm fine with that. You
Yeah.
believe the bad reviews. You believe the good reviews. You got to believe the bad reviews. So
That's true. Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Gotta watch that. That way lies madness. Otherwise,
No,
Donnie, it's
sure.
been great, man. I'm so glad we finally got to
Yeah.
pull this off.
Thank you again for having me, man. I really
No, it's
appreciate
such a pleasure. I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to see. So what do you got? What do you got coming up? Is it just the record just got recorded, so it's gonna be some percolating and then some stuff next year? Is that kind of the vibes?
Yeah, we're figuring out how we're going to get it put out. Whether
Mhm.
we're going to do with another like traditional label thing, if we're going to do it ourselves, we don't know. We're figuring that out right now. And sorry. Then we're just going to do touring next year. The rest of this year is kind of quick shows here and there, kind of more around Texas and Oklahoma, not venturing too far out of our comfort zone at this point because we want to wait, for, we want to make it cool. And if people haven't seen us in a while, have them come see us,
Right,
So
right.
if we're going all over the place, then we go on tour. It's got to be, you have to create that demand, I think. And once we have the record out, that's going to be an even better reason to go and tour. So now we're just kind of like, cooling our jets and just kind of getting everything ready. And who knows, we might be doing some more recording. I don't know, and putting out some more stuff.
Nice.
I don't know.
Maybe you'll
Hopefully so.
ramp up to those CCR levels yet. Who knows?
I mean,
They cranked it. It was like every year there was a new, and it's like, oh, this record's the best. No, this record's the best. It was crazy. And then Fogerty
that's the
didn't
thing.
write a
Yeah.
song for like 10 years. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, he couldn't. He was done.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like he kept pushing himself, but that's what I like. You keep
Yeah.
pushing.
Yeah.
You get. It's like, you just get so much out of it, and all of those songs were fantastic. He put everything into those songs.
Absolutely.
He was done. The guy was finished. He couldn't do anymore. But anyway, hopefully, yeah, maybe we'll be the CCR of the next
Modern rock. I don't know what
generation.
they. Yeah, I don't know what what do they call?
Maybe we'll.
They just don't acknowledge rock music exists anymore in
They don't.
the Grammys and stuff. I assume. I
No,
don't
they
know.
don't, and that's fine. I mean, it's Grammys are cool and all of that. But I if you go for the cool factor and the Grammy factor, I'd prefer to go for the whole thing of I know where we are right now. We can put out a record
Yeah.
and it will sell, and we have an audience, and we can
You have a
kinda do what we
sustainable
want.
audience. You're bringing meaning into people's lives.
Yeah, hopefully so.
You have that exchange of creativity that that's when everything works well. Music is pretty great.
Exactly. But that's it.
It's even
That's
pretty
all
great
we
when it
got.
isn't working well, but it's better when it works
Yeah.
well.
Well, and that's why I think this new record will be. It's of the times. It's like I said, it was written during the pandemic, so
Sure.
it's very, very, very relative to what we're all kind of. It's we just got out of it yet, so
Yeah.
it's still not. It's like it's in our rearview mirror, but we're not all over it, you know.
Right.
And this was very much what was going through his head. So it's very good record. It's very cleansing and cathartic for him, for everyone I think that can listen to it. But that's it. That's all we got.
Well, I'm very excited to check it out when that time comes because I'm sure
Thanks
it's going to
again
be
for having.
interesting. Sound great too, and that's
Yes,
that
it
that's
does.
pretty freaking awesome.
There's Rickenbacker bass all over it. So
Yeah. If you like Rickenbackers, I got good news.
we got good news. There's Rickenbacker bass.
Yeah, exactly. Donnie, this has been so great. Last question. This is the only canned question that I ever ask anyone that's on the show. You can choose to interpret it however you like, but why do you
Okay.
do what you do?
Um, that is a great question because if I didn't do it, I would die. That's it's all I know. I mean, there's other things I do with my life, obviously jujitsu and writing and other stuff like that. But playing is like I don't go out to play. I was telling someone this the other day. I don't go out to perform. I mean, the crowd is great. It's great to have that blowback, but I go out there to play with my band. For me, I get it when the four of us are in harmony and in tune with each other and moving like a great unit.
Mm.
And that result gets a big response from the crowd. Not just the fact of going out there. I mean, some people, I'm sure it's addictive, and it can be like a drug and a narcotic. Walking on stage and people yell, that's fun, but you haven't done anything. You haven't earned that applause yet. You don't
Yeah.
deserve their applause until you do something. So the fact of the four of us getting together and playing well, and and interpreting these songs as we do, doing that and getting a response from the crowd, like that's the byproduct, a really great response because we're playing it well. That is what I love. It's not the performance aspect of being in front of people and having them, throw panties or men's underwear. That's cool too. I do not, that's fine too. But all of that, that's not what I'm in it for. Is I've never been in it for. I've always been in it for playing on stage and having a good set, having a good performance,
Right.
with my band, and that getting a good reaction or not good reaction. Sometimes you can play your ass off and you get nothing. You get zilch from the crowd. That's okay too.
Yeah.
Maybe they just aren't reading it, but even in those moments, I know, like, okay, I still know that we're playing our asses off. So that's what it's about for me, is just playing our asses off. And because I have to have that. I love playing with other people and creating music. And it's, yeah, to not do that is death to me. I just can't do anything else. You know, I don't have a better response than that. It's just kind of something that I've always grown up done. I knew from the time I was like 12 or 13, this is what I wanted to do. And thankfully, through hard work, we're able to. But to be honest, if I wasn't in the Toadies, I would still be doing it. I would still be playing small clubs, small bars, putting out records. I love making records. I love making music. And probably no one would buy them, and I wouldn't give a shit. I would still be doing it, because just not to not be creative is just, I can't think of a world where I would be happy in that. So it's kind of just an automatic thing. It's like, why do I breathe? Eh. You know what I mean? Same thing. Same thing.
Doni Blair, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you
No,
being on the
thank
show.
you. Thank you again for having me, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
See you down the line.
See you, man.
There he goes, Doni Blair. What a cool guy. Let's actually we spent so much time talking about that about Kelly. You think Kelly Clarkson was on this show? Let's play that cover. It's a good one.
Here's the thing, We started out friends. It was cool, but it was all pretend. Yeah, yeah. Since you've been gone, you dedicated, you took the time. Wasn't long till I called you mine. Yeah, yeah. Since you've been gone, and all you'd ever hear me say is how I pictured me with you. That's all you'd ever hear me say. But since you've been gone, I can't breathe for the first time. I'm moving on, yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks to you, now I get what I want. Since you've been gone, how can I put it? You put me on. I even fell for that stupid love song. Yeah, yeah. Since you've been gone, how come I never hear you say, I just wanna be with you? I guess you never felt that way. But since you've been gone, I can't breathe for the first time. I'm moving on, yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks to you, now I get what I want. Since you've been gone, you had your chance, you blew it. Out of sight, out of mind. Shut your mouth, I just can't take it again and again and again and again and again and again. Since you've been gone, I can't breathe for the first time. I'm moving on, yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks to you, now I get what I want. Yeah, and I can't breathe for the first time. I'm moving on, yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks to you, now I get. You should know that I get what I want. Since you've been gone, since you've been gone, since you've been gone.
Give your projects a friendly jolt in Slack.
Is this thing on?
There you go. Little Since You've Been Gone. Little Kelly Clarkson followed by Shellac. That's what this show does. That was Toadies, of course, with the fantastic Zach Blair on the bass with that great cover. There's apparently a Kelly Clarkson song inspired by Maps by Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a great Doni Blair of the Toadies, Hagfish, Only Crime, which we didn't talk about at all. We didn't talk about Surf Man either. But you can find him on the internet where we all live. Toadies stuff incoming. I'll have to have him on again when that record comes out. The name of this show, this one, is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you so very much for listening to it. This show airs Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Streaming live on YouTube and Twitch. Podcasted later everywhere. Always free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. ProtonicReversal.com for the archives. And if you like the show and want to get episodes sooner, keep these lights on.
And Mrs. America, all the ships at sea.
$1 a month at patreon.com/ProtonicReversal. we'll achieve both those goals, and it's deeply appreciated. Thanks everyone for liking, subscribing to your platform of choice,
I've got
following, leaving reviews, sharing around, all that nonsense helps people discover the show. And it's just a darn nice thing to do. 10-year anniversary episode coming up next. Boy, are you in for it. It's going to be a corker. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned in general, I guess. But
microphone turns sound into electricity.
I don't take any for granted. Appreciate you all. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me now?
So
Out on Route
stay safe out there.
128, dark and lonely.
And check you later.
I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? 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 The end of radio. And that snare drum and that drum roll means we've got a winner. If you're the fifth caller, or any caller at all, welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on. Can This is a test! If this had been a real emergency,